I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Boy, do we have a lot to discuss tonight. And we're going to start off where everybody would expect me to start off, where all the news organizations are starting off with, and that is what is going on with former President Donald Trump and this Manhattan DA Briggs. Boy, I'm going to share with you just the facts of this case and what you need to know about what is happening. If you were to ask the average person out on the street, if you just went out anywhere to a park, out in front of a school, in a shopping mall, and you were to ask them what this is about, have they heard about it? Have they heard about this DA trying to bring an indictment against Trump and have him arrested? If you were to go out and ask them about that, good chances are that you're going to be told that it's about the FBI Mar-a-Lago raid, where they got classified documents that Trump had, and that would not be true. You will hear them say that it's about the January 6th Capitol insurrectionist bullshit, and that Trump incited a riot, and that would not be true. You will hear them say that it's about Russia collusion. They finally got him. It's about Russia collusion. And of course, that's not true either. Or it's about the 2 times that the Democrat-controlled House voted to impeach Trump, and that could not be further from the truth. In fact, this is about porn actress Stormy Daniels. When Trump was first running to be president, Stormy Daniels' name was thrown out there. We've heard this over and over and over again. It's been played out on every news media outlet on planet Earth. That's right. This DA wants to go after and arrest Donald Trump over hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. And I know what you're all thinking. Wait a minute. We've already heard this. They already went down this road. There wasn't anything there, right? You're right. Something that has been tossed around in the justice system for the past several years, where no evidence of guilt by Trump was ever produced. But those pointing the fingers at Trump, like his attorney at that time, Michael Cohen, lied. He lied. He lied, he perjured himself, and therefore was charged and convicted of such. This is all about Stormy Daniels. And he served jail time. He's only out of jail right now because of COVID. Stormy Daniels' own attorney at the time, Michael Adelani, you all remember him, he lied about the case. He was convicted, and he is still serving jail time today on that and other charges. He was a horrible, horrible person. And Stormy Daniels herself was found to be a liar. And there was no merit behind anything she was claiming. And she was actually told by the judge in the case back then that she had to reimburse Donald Trump for his attorney fees. And this was all put to rest, right? Well, one would think so. It's a case that has been in front of the court system several times. It's a case that several district attorneys have looked at with a microscope, and each time said there is nothing there. You cannot connect the dots with this and show that Donald Trump meant this to be a payoff, meant it to be a payoff to keep her quiet. There's no paper trail that says this is what took place. Nope. The biggest star witness is Michael Cohen. It's already been proven to be a liar in this case. Yet, here we are today. Donald J. Trump could be indicted by a Manhattan grand jury at any minute now. Donald Trump was concerned it was going to be today because of the leaks that came out on purpose from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office showing that they were ready to arrest him. So Donald's already spoken about it, and so has many other people. And as it turns out, that leak was basically just a little lie. This has been hovering over this president for the past 6 years. The prospect of an indictment has raised several questions about the contours of the potential case facing Trump, who would become the first former American president to be indicted in the history of America. So, we bring in Alvin L. Bragg, B-R-A-G-G. He is an African American. He is the Manhattan District Attorney, and he is financially backed for his position by far-left billionaire George Soros, who is also personal friends of Hillary Rodham Clinton and many other Trump enemies, whose office is bringing the case. It's his. He's doing it. He's focused on Trump's involvement in the payment of hush money to Stormy Daniels, who, she said, had an affair with him. And of course, the president has denied this all along. Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer at the time, did make a payment during the final days of the 2016 presidential campaign. While the facts are dramatic, the case against Trump could hinge on an untested legal theory, and a conviction is far from assured. Here's what we know and don't know about the longest-running investigation into former President Donald J. Trump. In October 2016, during the final weeks of the presidential campaign, porn actress Stormy Daniels was trying to sell her story of an affair with Trump. She wasn't going to the DA. She wasn't going to attorneys to try and sue him. No, she wanted to share this story that she made up in her head, according to Trump, about having an affair with him. At first, her representatives contacted the National Enquiry. That's who she went to offer exclusive rights to her story. That's right, the National Enquiry that claims that American World War II bombers were found on the moon. The National Enquiry that says that Elvis Presley faked his death and is now dressing up as a drag queen doing story hours. That and many other off-the-wall, crazy, no-merit stories. That National Enquiry. David Pecker, the tabloid's publisher and longtime ally of Mr. Trump, had agreed to look out for potential damaging stories about him during the 2016 campaign. And at one point, even agreed to buy the story from another woman's affair with Mr. Trump and never publish it, a practice known as catch and kill. But Mr. Pecker didn't purchase Stormy Daniels' story. Instead, he and the tabloid's top editor at the time, Dalen Howard, helped broker a separate deal between Mr. Cohen, Trump's attorney at the time, and Stormy Daniels' lawyer. The big story, besides the supposedly affair, was proof of the affair, where Mr. Cohen paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels to make her go away in the middle of a presidential race. And Trump later reimbursed him, supposedly, from the White House after becoming president. In 2018, Mr. Cohen pleaded guilty to a number of charges, including federal campaign finance crimes involving the same hush money. Now, Trump all along has said, I knew nothing about this $130,000 going to pay this bimbo. I paid it for other legal fees I owed him, and oh, here's my receipts for it. This has nothing to do with hush money. What the hell? Moving on, the payment federal prosecutors concluded amounted to an improper donation to Trump's campaign. In the days after Mr. Cohen's guilty plea, the district attorney's office opened its own criminal investigation into the matter. You all remember that. It's all over the news. While the federal prosecutors were focused on Mr. Cohen, the district attorney's inquiry would center on Trump. When pleading guilty in federal court, Mr. Cohen pointed the finger at his boss, Donald Trump. It was Trump, he said, who directed him to pay off Stormy Daniels. Yet he had no proof that that's what actually took place, that Donald Trump directed him to do anything of the such. The prosecutor also raised questions about Trump's monthly reimbursement checks that were paid to Attorney Cohen at the time. They said in court papers that Trump's company falsely accounted for the monthly payments as legal expenses, and that company records cited a retainer agreement with Mr. Cohen. Although Mr. Cohen was a lawyer and became Trump's personal attorney after he took office, there was no such retainer agreement or reimbursement that has been found and that's related to anything of the nature. Mr. Cohen has said that Trump knew about the phony retainer agreement and acquisitions that could form the basis of a case against the former president. In New York, falsifying business records can amount to a crime, but it's a misdemeanor. To elevate the crime to a felony charge, the DA, Mr. Braggs, prosecutors must show that Trump intended to defraud, including an intent to commit or conceal a second crime. Now, unless you just woke up from a coma, you know that we already have nothing here. And I could basically just stop reading at this point, but I'm not going to do that because I want to drive this point home about what this is about so that you clearly understand it. In this case, the second crime would be a violation of election law. While hush money is not inherently illegal, anybody can do that. The prosecutors argue that the $130,000 payout effectively became an improper donation to Mr. Trump's campaign, under the theory that he benefited his candidacy because it silenced Stormy Daniels. This is as far-reaching as you could possibly reach. Even if Trump is indicted, Convicting him or sending him to prison would be literally a 1 in a billion shot. For one thing, Trump's lawyers are sure to attack Mr. Cohen's credibility by citing his criminal record, which they're already doing right now. Prosecutors might counter that the former fixer lied years ago on behalf of his boss at the time and is now in the best position to detail the truth about Donald Trump. The case against Trump might also hinge on an untested legal theory. According to legal experts, New York prosecutors have never before combined the falsifying business records charge with a violation of state election law in a case involving a presidential election or any federal campaign. Because this is uncharted territory, it is possible that a judge could just throw the whole damn thing out and say, I'm not even going to listen to any more of this bullshit. Or reduce the felony that Briggs wants to bring to a misdemeanor. Even if the charge is allowed to stand, it amounts to a low-level felony. If Trump were ultimately convicted, he would face a maximum sentence of up to 4 years that he could be given, or no jail time. Though prison time would not be mandatory at all. Prosecutors and district attorney's office have signaled to Trump's lawyers that he could face criminal charges at any moment. They did this by offering Trump the chance to testify before the grand jury that has been hearing evidence in the potential case. People with knowledge of the matter have come forward and spoken on this. Such offers almost always indicate an indictment is close. It would be unusual for prosecutors to notify a potential defendant without ultimately seeking charges against him or her. In New York, potential defendants have the right to answer questions in the grand jury before they are indicted. But they rarely testify. They normally have their attorneys do that for them. And in this case, Trump also declined to testify. Prosecutors have also questioned at least 8 witnesses in front of the grand jury, including almost every major player going back to the beginning of the Stormy Daniels hush money BS. Now, yesterday and again today, the jurors heard from more defense witnesses. Again, suggesting that the prosecutor's presentation is nearing an end. The prospective defendant can request that jurors hear from a witness on his or her behalf, but the jurors can choose whether they wish to do so. There's still a faint possibility that Trump won't even be charged at all, and that Briggs is going to wake up and realize that the tree he's barking up is about to bite him. Trump's lawyers have met privately with the prosecutors in hopes of fending off criminal charges. Once the grand jury witnesses have concluded their testimony, the prosecutors will need to present the charges to the grand jury, who will vote to either indict or not indict Donald J. Trump. Until then, DA Bragg could decide to just pump the brakes. As of now, however, it seems highly unlikely. Trump has referred to the investigation as a witch hunt against him that began before he became president and has called Mr. Bragg, who is a black Democrat, a racist who is motivated by politics. Former president has consistently denied having an affair with Stormy Daniels. And his post this past Saturday, Trump on his social network, Truthsocial, declared that his arrest was coming, calling for his supporters to protest and take back our nation. And of course, then there's many on the left, like CNN and MSNBC, trying to say, oh, it's the same thing like he did with January 6th, and he wants us to go out and riot the streets and all that kind of bullshit. Trump's team is planning a series of political attacks on DA Bragg and is prepared to portray any charges as part of a coordinated Democrat Party offensive against him. So, that's the crust of this story. In my personal opinion, as a veteran law enforcement officer, somebody who has dealt with the courts many, many times, DA Braggs knows this case is dead in the water past his office. They just want to see Trump in handcuffs and a mugshot. That's all this is about. This has been going on 6 years of doing everything in their power to humiliate him and his family and twist everything they say or do. The New York bar should remove DA Briggs' license to practice law. And he should be removed from any job that is part of our very broken criminal justice system. And as much as I've talking about how broke our criminal justice system is, if you don't see it here, you're never going to see it. There are two sets of rules, one for conservatives and Republicans and one for Democrats and liberals. We've seen it with Hillary Clinton getting the pass, all of her cronies, while on the other hand, we see Republicans and conservatives being arrested and raided by the FBI and the Department of Justice. Furthermore, if he continues down this path for an indictment and an arrest, it is my personal opinion, and I will go on record right now saying it, Donald Trump will become the president of the United States during the next election. This dumbass DA will have sealed the fate of the presidential election and nominate Donald Trump without even fucking realizing it. And you can remember that I said that on Tuesday, March 21st at 8:22 p.m. Moving on. Border Patrol agents encountered 16 people registered on the FBI's terrorist watch list who illegally crossed the southern border just in February alone. It appears to set an encounter for more in the fiscal year than they did from the last fiscal year. Customs and Border Protection data show that 69 people in the FBI's terrorist screening database have been encountered at the southern border since the fiscal year began in October, compared to a total of 69 across the previous fiscal year. Department of Homeland Security defines an encounter as when a non-citizen is arrested or brought into custody by border officials. Apprehension may or may not result in an arrest, according to the CBP. Between the 2017 and 2022 fiscal years, Border Patrol data shows 11 arrests of people on the terror watch list trying to illegally cross our southern border. The terror watch list were only a few of the 128,877 people encountered trying to illegally cross the southern border in just February. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are they going that route? It's because they're on the terrorist watch list because they have known affiliations with someone who is a terrorist that we know about, our military knows about, our FBI knows about it, our CIA knows about it. They're buddies with them, they're friends of them, they worked with them in the past, and we don't want them in our country, and there's no other way for them to get here. They can't fly in, they're on the terrorist watch list. But they can walk across that fucking border, and if we caught 11 of them in February, how many terrorists do you think are in America now that we haven't caught? Because we've already had 2 million encounters with just Biden as president. illegal migrant encounters created to a historic low back in April of 2020, but have rocketed past heights not seen in 2 decades since then, as reported by the Pew Research Center. After a record surge in migration over the last 2 years, the Border Patrol noted in a press release that last month was the second month in a row the lowest illegal migrant encounters since February of 2021. In a press release, the CBP acting commissioner, Troy Miller, said he was encouraged by the fact that February's overall encounter rate was just under January's, as well as a new functioning of the CBP One mobile app, allowing migrants to safely and easily schedule an appointment at a port of entry to apply for asylum, which is what they should be doing in the first place. We have places all along the border for anyone to want to come here legally, and we will welcome you with open arms like we've done since the history and the beginning of this country. We're all, at one point, were illegal aliens here, or at least through our forefathers and so forth. Border Patrol's monthly February data was released as the chief of Border Patrol testified at a congressional hearing. The Department of Homeland Security does not have operational control over the U.S. border, regardless of what Homeland Security continues to tell members in Congress. Now, I've been saying for quite some time, and I've done videos on this, I've talked about it on my show, about where we went wrong in this country and how we got where we're at right now with everything being broken, with the far left infiltrating everything in America, all right? And what have I been telling you? For those of you that watch this show on a regular basis, where does this start at? It starts in our schools. When we allow liberal ideology to be taught from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade and then into our college system. We allow liberal teachers to push their radical agenda on our kids. That's why we're where we're at right now, with a country that is borderlining collapse if we don't figure out how to get in control of this shit. Now, it seems like every show I'm having to talk about just how crazy this is. And we're going to do that again right now with some brand new data that's out. A Minnesota science teacher who recommends teachers include anti-capitalist materials in their classroom praised the idea of having no respect for authority. The teacher at Highland Park Middle School, her name is Mandy Jung, Mandijung, frequently posts videos on TikTok expunging anti-capitalist and anarchists philosophies, and is skeptical of all justifications for authority and seeks to abolish the system like capitalism, which claims it maintains unnecessary coherence and hearsay. Jung also said that she identifies with the industrial workers of the world, an ideology union which tries to tie socialism and anti-chrism. My students this year have no respect for authority, the St. Paul district teacher said, and I love that in person because I have no respect for authority whatsoever. But then she goes on to say, but I've been very frustrated this year because I am the authority teaching the kids. So I am, damn the man, but I am the man. Jung recommends bringing in anti-capitalist messaging into classrooms, such as Marcus political cartoons, which stated capitalism will rule you, will fool you, will shoot at you, will eat you. Regarding the purpose of education, Jung believes that it is not only to prepare students to enter the workforce, but to learn about nature. The science teacher added that classic cell biology lessons are part of the capitalist indoctrination. 7th grade science, the year that you learn about microtrisons and powerhouse of the cells and all the cell biology. So at the end of the unit, I have students take a test. And one of the questions is, a person says the nucleus is most important of the cells. Do you agree or disagree, and why? And almost every child says, yes, I agree. Because without a boss, the cell would be in total chaos. Jung added, the student's response cracks me up, and went on to claim that the bacteria where the organs start from. Bacteria don't have a nucleus, and they are arguably one of the most susceptible classes of organisms on the planet. Bacteria out here being the original to all of this. No nucleus, no masters, sizing the means of the metabolism. I don't know. It's funny to me, she said. The district released a statement to Fox News Digital, which said, as a general rule, public employees as citizens have the right to personally comment on matters of public importance without restriction or reprisal by their employee. Now, your employee is trying to teach kids something that's not real. Then we move on to a New Jersey woman, and this should really piss you off. Regardless if you're liberal or Democrat or conservative, Republican, doesn't matter. This is absolutely insanity because it's happening on a military base right here in America. A New Jersey mother has filed a lawsuit after she was allegedly reported by a high-ranking U.S. military official as a safety concern for complaining about sexually charged posters at her children's own base elementary school. Angela Reading, a mother of two who served as a member of the Northern Burlington Board of Education, made headlines last December after Major Christopher Schellings of Joint Base McGuire-Dix report, which used to be Fort Dix, now it's McGuire Air Force Base and Fort Dix put together. I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey for my basic training, actually, in the military. Reportedly flagged her post to local police when she alerted parents in a local Facebook group about posters promoting polysexuality at the entrance of her 7-year-old's school. The current situation involving Mrs. Reading's actions has caused safety concerns for many families, Schellings wrote on his personal Facebook page at the time. The Joint Base leadership takes this situation very seriously, and from the beginning have had the security forces working with multiple state and local law enforcement agencies to monitor the situation to ensure the continued safety of the entire community, he continued. Reading's lawsuit, which was filed March 15th in the U.S. District Court of the District of New Jersey by her legal counsel at the Thomas More Society, allegedly Reading was treated unfairly and that her civil rights were violated. In a statement provided to Fox News Digital, Thomas More Society Special Counsel Christopher Ferrari noted how in November of 2022, Reading shared how she had attended an elementary school math night the previous evening with her 7-year-old daughter, who, after reading LBGT affirming posters in the school's entry, turned to her mother and asked, "What is polysexual, Mom?" Miss Readings merely questioned why elementary school children, were being invited to research topics of sexuality. Nothing that is in the state educational standards, nor the Board of Educational system should have approved this curriculum. Miss Reading did not name names at the school and invited respectful debate. The lawsuit also claims the police chief of North Hanover Township, along with military personnel from Joint Base McGuire-Dix, pressured Reading into removing her Facebook post. The lawsuit further claims the defendant falsely portrayed Reading as a security threat and reported her to various law enforcement and security agencies in an effort to retaliate against her and intimidate her into silence. The defendant acted singularly and conspired with one another to deprive and chill the exercise of Miss Redding's rights, including rights protected under the United States, New Jersey Constitution, as well as other laws the suits claim. Why is this being allowed in any school, much less one on a United States military base? There should be nothing in posters, in books, or being taught by teachers about sexuality. Now, once you get to high school, I'm all for having some type of a sex education class, providing that the parents agree to it and sign off on allowing it. But other than that, it is your responsibility as a parent to teach your kids, well, to at least prepare them for what's to come as they grow into adulthood and start going through puberty. That's what you're supposed to do. That is the parent's responsibility. And as we see here, we're now having crazy shit like drag queen shows. And that's not even a sexuality. That's just a bunch of freaks dressing up as a bunch of freaks. LGBT type stuff posted all over the place. There can be a minimum of that. Okay. I don't know too many people that will really be offended by it, considering, especially when it gets to the high school level, because they all know what it is. But going into polysex and BDSM and anal sex and oral sex and all these things that I've talked about on this show before that these teachers are talking about to kids and showing posters of and books about, none of that shit should be allowed. And if anyone tried to do that any place outside of a school setting, they would be arrested and charged as a sex offender. But these liberal teachers are allowed to do it and get away with it, which is why it is so important for you, if you're a parent, pay attention to what's happening at your kid's school and speak up. Congressman James Comer shared the latest on the House investigation to the Biden family business dealings, including bank records of deals with business partners. Representative Comer warned of bad news for the White House after evidence from Hunter Biden's laptop revealed a direct link connecting the Biden family to China. Representative Comer said, well, we know that when the president was a vice president in the Obama administration, he made several trips to China. He brought his son and some of these associates with him. They met in different places with some of these people, and the president claimed he had never met with. We know that he did because of the emails and the pictures of them together on the laptop. Yet Biden still continues to deny that it ever happened. So we know the president hasn't been truthful about his involvement when he was vice president. But from talking to former associates that were involved with Hunter Biden, what we now know is the Biden family had agreed to help China get their foot in the door of the then vice president. Pay for play. The host that he was interviewing with, is Maria Bartolomeo, asked, there was something on the laptop that was also informative where Hunter Biden is talking to a colleague, somebody who is representing the Chinese partnership, right? Representative Comer said, yes, there was a message that Hunter was very frustrated with one of these business partners in China. He was frustrated, saying that he had done everything that it asked. He was continuing to do things for them, but they weren't doing nothing for him in return. And 3 days after sending that email, they deposited $3 million into Robertson Walker account. And the very next day, they distributed the money to Hunter Biden. So at least 2 other family members were involved, and we're looking at a possible 3rd member now. So there's evidence in the laptop that shows that Hunter Biden was communicating with them and had interactions and done things for them while his father was vice president. This is very concerning. Again, the White House hasn't been truthful about this from day one. I don't think the White House ever dreamed we would get the bank records. I've got bad news for the White House. This is just the beginning. We're going to get a lot more bank records, and they're going to have to continue to backpedal and come up with some type of reason why the Biden family received millions and millions of dollars from our adversaries. And the only thing that they've come out and said, it was business dealings. What did the Bidens sell? You ever been into their store online? Their store in person? Did they grow something? Crops, maybe? They have farms? They have the cattle? What the fuck did the Bidens sell? What business dealings? So far, they've not been able to link any business at all with the Bidens that's legal. High rates of cancer among military pilots have been discovered by a Pentagon new study. And for the first time, it's been shown that pilots, flight engineers, crew chiefs, ground crews, those that fuel, maintain, and launch those aircraft are getting sick as well. The Pentagon released a study in February. The Associated Press has picked it up. Retired military aviators had long sought the data, me being one of them, as I deal with my issues with cancer. The military aviators had raised alarms for years about the number of air and ground crew members they knew had cancer. They were told that earlier military studies had found they were not at a greater risk than the general U.S. population. But in a year-long study of approximately 900,000 service members who were air crew or worked on aircraft between 1992 and 2017, the Pentagon found that air crew members had an 87% higher rate of melanoma and a 39% higher rate of thyroid cancer. That's being reported tonight by the AP. Meanwhile, men had a 16% higher rate of prostate cancer, and women a 16% higher rate of breast cancer. Overall, the air crews had a 24% higher rate of cancer of all types. The study showed ground crews had a 19% higher rate of brain and nervous system cancers, and 15% higher rate of thyroid cancer, and a 9% higher rate of kidney or renal cancers. Women in the military and veterans, meanwhile, had a 7% higher rate of breast cancer, the same study found. The overall rate for cancers of all types was 3% higher, the AP noted in their reporting. Navy A6 intruder pilot Jim Seaman was one of those who died of cancer at the age of 61. He passed away in 2018. He was among a group of pilots who were diagnosed with cancer. His widow, Betty Seaman, has been part of a larger group of aviators and surviving spouses who have lobbied Congress and the Pentagon for years to look into the number of cancers aviators and ground crews are faced with. Pentagon acknowledges that the study had gaps and likely led to an undercount of cancer cases. Go figure. The military health system database used in the study did not have reliable cancer data until 1990. So it may not have included pilots who flew early generation jets in the prior decades. Pentagon said the new study was one of the largest and most comprehensive done to date. Now, I'm just going to go out here on a limb and tell you that I can guarantee you the rates would be higher on those prior to 1990 because we did things totally different back then. Dumping fuel and oil right on the flight line or into the dirt, all right? The toxics we were exposed to, not wearing proper protective equipment and such, handling it with your hands, the oils and fuels, not having proper cleaning facilities to get it off of your skin. And as time went on and they started addressing this and seeing it was a problem, today's military has things a little different. So I guarantee you when they finish this study and they look back, they're going to see that it was way worse than what they're finding right now, which is worse than the general population. At least they're finally admitting it. Look how long it took the Agent Orange veterans that were exposed to Agent Orange to finally get compensation for this. Over half that group were already dead from it by the time the money came through. An earlier study had looked at Air Force pilots only and had found some higher rates of cancers, while this one looked across all services and at both air and ground crews. Even with a wider approach, the Pentagon cautioned that the actual number of cancer cases was likely to be even higher because of the gaps in the data, which it said it would work to remedy. The study was required by Congress and 2021 defense bill. Now, given the higher rates were found, the Pentagon must conduct an even bigger review to try and understand why crews are getting sick. The Pentagon took pains to point out that the new study does not imply that military service in air crew or ground crew occupations causes cancer, because there are multiple potential confounding factors that could not be controlled for in this analysis, such as family histories of cancer, smoking behavior, or alcohol use. Meanwhile, an entirely different study found that men diagnosed with localized prostate cancer who want to avoid immediate surgery or radiation can safely choose to actively monitor the disease as treatment method. That's according to a recent study released last week in the New England Journal of Medicine. Researchers in the study determined that most men shouldn't panic or rush to treatment decisions following a diagnosis, as the mortality rate from the cancer 15 years later was relatively low regarding treatment approach. The study began in the United Kingdom in 1999. It involved 2,664 men ages between 50 and 69 who were diagnosed with localized prostate cancer. Of those men, 1,643 were enrolled in a trial study, 3 different treatment methods: surgery to remove the tumors, 553 of them, radiation, 545 of them, and active monitoring, 545. So the good news out of this story is that, guys, you don't have to immediately go take this shit out of me right now. It's going to scare the shit out of you, obviously. And I know all too well about how it's going to scare the shit out of you. And I just today was at the doctor's having more removed from my body. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called on his country to be ready to launch a nuclear attack to deter war, as he accused the U.S. and South Korea of carrying out military drills with American nuclear assets, according to state media. Kim's remarks, carried on state media KCNA, came after the Hermit Kingdom launched a short-range ballistic missile towards the sea on Sunday. The missile flew across the country and landed in the sea off its east coast, according to South Korean and Japanese assessments, which reported that the missile traveled a distance of about 500 miles. Kim, who oversaw the tests, said the exercise improved the military's actual war capability and highlighted the need to ensure its readiness posture for any immediate and overwhelming nuclear counterattack through such drills. KCNA quoted Kim as saying the North urgently needed to bolster its nuclear war deterrent as the enemies are getting ever more pronounced in their moves for aggression against this country. We've been having military drills with South Korea and Japan for eons, especially after the Second World War. Nothing's changed. We haven't upped the ante. This guy's just a conspiracy theorist nut job, and he's unhinged. The nuclear force of the DPRK will strongly deter, control, and manage the enemy's reckless moves and provocations with its higher war readiness and carry out its important mission without hesitation in case of any unwanted situation, Kim was quoted as saying. KCNA photos showed Kim attending the test with his young daughter as flames roared from the soaring missiles before it hit the target. U.S. and South Korea have for weeks been carrying out annual exercises, including air and sea drills involving U.S. B-1B strategic bombers. Both countries, respectively, navies and Marine Corps, are set to kick off their first large-scale amphibious landing exercise in the past 5 years, and it will go on for approximately 2 weeks and end around April 3rd. North Korea has frequently condemned these exercises, linking them to a dress rehearsal for an invasion. So we've been dress rehearsing for a long fucking time, because we were dress rehearsing when I was in the military in the same friggin' area. Another dispatch, KCNA, said more than 1.4 million North Koreans have volunteered to join or re-enlist in the military to fight against South Korea and U.S. troops, up from some 800,000 enlistees reported over the weekend, which none of that can be proven as factual information. Speaking of crazy people, the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Putin. He is charged with war crimes against Ukraine. This action calls the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, Medvedev, to suggest that the Kremlin could and should fire a hypersonic missile at the International Criminal Court after the organization issued the arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. I'm afraid, gentlemen, everyone is answerable to God and missiles, he said. He is a staunch Putin loyalist who was also Russia's president from 2008 to 2012. Wrote in a message on Telegram, according to Russian state media outlet TASS. It's quite possible to imagine how a hypersonic missile fired from a Russian warship in the North Sea could strike the court building in The Hague. It can't be shot down, I'm afraid. He also warned the judges at The Hague, the International Court, to watch the skies closely, calling the court a pathetic international organization. The ICC issued the arrest warrant for Putin last Friday, alleging he is responsible for war crimes and unlawful deportation of children and the unlawful transfer of children from occupied areas of Ukraine to the Russian Federation. Another warrant also targeted Maria Belova, the Commissioner of Children's Rights in the Office of the President of the Russian Federation. As many as 16,226 children have been deported during the 13-month war, according to Ukrainian human rights chief. Joe Biden called the warrant for Putin's arrest justified over the weekend, saying that he has clearly committed war crimes. I don't doubt it, but let me just say that you also have committed treason by leaving the billions of dollars in Afghanistan to our enemies. Joe, just thought I'd throw that out there. Other Russian officials brushed off the warrant by the ICC, which Russia does not recognize. The U.S. and China also were not involved in the 1998 Rome Statute, which established the court's authority. Medicic has a history of making profound predictions, including recently that a civil war will break out in the U.S. in 2023. Now, that's actually a possibility, sadly. And that the defeat of Russia in a conventional war would provoke the beginning of a nuclear war. And that is also true. It is a very trying and scary time right now, dealing with crazy people that run countries across this globe. And the crazy things that we do and allow to happen to American citizens. You can find it all right here on YouTube, for instance. All the experiments, medical, scientific experiments that have been done on unwilling and unknowing American citizens by our own government, going back for decades. They were completely clueless of what they were being exposed to on purpose. Which brings me to tonight's closing story. Actor Paul Grant, who was featured in Star Wars and Harry Potter, has died. He was 56 years old. He died after collapsing at a train station in London. Grant was immediately rushed to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. Every day in America and many locations all around this world, seemingly healthy people, no underlying health conditions, actors, professional ball players, high school students, high school athletes, college athletes, singers, judges, police officers, lawyers, even doctors are dropping dead for no apparent reason. Currently, the largest influx of people mysteriously dying for no apparent reason is happening right now. Unless you are a brainwashed liberal Democrat yes person, may I have another please, then you know what's going on here. In due time, the truth will come out. And I'll leave it at that. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel. Also, check out my other YouTube channel, Charlie Hotel 47. Go check out DouglasDucote.com, our website, in the description of this show and all my shows and videos. You can also see where you can find me on other social media platforms. I hope that you will join me there, and I'll do the same thing for you. Please share with your family and friends. Tell them about the show. Tell them about the website. Tell them about the YouTube channel. And let's expand and grow to reach more and more people. Because knowledge is what helps fix broken problems. And boy, do we have a lot of broken problems right now. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. I'll see you right back here Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. Until then, take care. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless.